Use a soft pencil such as a 6B to erratically add background tone. Lightly sketch out your first plant form on the left-hand side. Put some scrap paper under your hand to stop any smudging. Use a softer, darker pencil to sketch your second plant out on the right hand side. Let them overlap each other. Using the two different shades of pencil will help you to distinguish between them. Really try to fill your whole page. If you actually need to include a third plant form, then please do so. Don't just stop at 2 if you think you need more. Next, take a soft pencil and hatch in some of the shapes of negative space in order to emphasize your plant forms. Take an eraser to bring back the white of the paper in some of the shapes. Think about spreading all of the different tones out, so not having too much of the same tone in one small area. Think about trying to balance the whole piece of paper out, so some dark hatching next to some of the grey mid-tone, next to some of the white of the rubber, and really think about spreading this out and not clustering it all together too much. Like I've been doing here, add some more dark hatching if you feel you need to. Okay, so now onto the watercolour painting. I'm just testing out my colours here, and I'm going to be using a minimal colour palette. So I know I want to use blue. The complementary colour of blue is orange, as that's opposite on the colour reel, so those two in theory work quite well together. I've decided I want blue to be the most dominant, so I'm going to use a couple of different tones and tints of blue. You can see that I've been testing them out on the side, testing them out as well to see what they look like with a lot of water, so they're more transparent, and then also what they look like when they are quite concentrated and the pigment is therefore darker. I'll also be using a little bit of black. Notice that I'm using the lid of my watercolour tin to mix my paints on there first. Even if I'm not mixing my blues together or mixing new colours, I'm still making sure that I am testing the consistency of paint to water ratio on my tin first, so I know what I'm going to get before I put it on my paper. You can see me then applying the paint. Sometimes when I put a little bit too much on, or maybe it's a little bit too watery, I then go in with a clean and dry brush to then scoop it back off, and I've got a red tissue in my other hand which I'm using to blot any of the extra water off. So don't ever be satisfied first time round as soon as you put your water on. If you're not happy with it, if you think it's too dry or you think it's too wet, you can always adjust this, but you just need to work quite quickly. So I would definitely encourage you to have a paper towel in your other hand, or a rag of cloth or something, so that you can blot your paintbrush if you need to. You can see me with a second brush as well, dragging the paint across here and there into my different shapes. So I'll start to kind of merge my colours together by doing this. Okay, so next I'll be using orange. I'm going to put this near where I put lots of my blue, because those colours should work quite nicely together. Whilst the paint is still wet here as well, I'm also using a second brush to drag across some of the orange into the wet blue that's next door to it. this creates a really lovely effect of those two colours bleeding into each other. Also in my brush there, I've picked up some of the new colour that's made with those colours mixing together, and I've dragged that across to another shape, and you can see there I've painted some of the orange over some blue, and I've got a new green colour. So don't be afraid to mix the minimal colours that you're using together, to layer them on top of each other. If they're still wet, they'll create new colours, which will be quite a nice addition. You can see me here, I'm using a little bit of the black paint. I'm not going to put too much black on, but it will be nice to break up some of the colour by having some black on there, some contrast. And notice that I won't be filling in absolutely all areas with paint. I will be leaving some of the pencil, even some of the white of the paper, I'll be leaving those as they are. So the purpose of the watercolour paint is not to fill in every area. Okay, so you'll need to use your creative judgment to think about which areas you're going to leave, okay? Hopefully you'll end up with something quite abstract and colourful like this, and then at the next stage we'll be refining it to look a little bit like this, where I've used erratic colour pencil marks on top. Use similar colours in pencil to add expressive and directional marks on top. Use white pencil on top of this to burnish and blend your colours together. Black is also quite nice to use in small amounts to add some more dark contrast. You can see I'm thinking about laying complementary colours next to each other. I'm also trying to define my shapes as much as possible by doing directional mark making. I'm trying not to just go around and outline all of my shapes, but instead adding energetic and expressive mark making on top that makes sense with the direction that I'm putting on, but just trying to have some fun, really emphasize some of the colours, refine the piece, make it more vibrant. You could kind of think of it as considered scribbling, I guess, if you like, but just try to have some fun with this, really trying to make it more vibrant in colour, more energetic with the mark making. I am using the white a lot, which helps to burnish and blend some of the colours underneath together really well. Just keep going and layering up until you're happy, that you feel like you've refined it and added to it enough that it's looking as strong and vibrant, as energetic as you would like it to look. Here's my final piece, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you all come up with. This is an extension activity where I've tried to do a similar task but working in textiles, using very similar stages, but I just didn't start with a background tone as it's quite hard to rub pencil off fabric. For the last stage, instead of refining using colour pencil, I've refined using mark making and stitch.